It just started.
Alrighty then. I'll call to order the special meeting of the Municipal Accountability Review Board for Friday, March 21st, 2025. This is a special teams meeting. It's members and speakers. Please speak clearly so your comments will be recorded for the minutes. And if you're not speaking, go ahead and mute your microphone so we don't get any background noise. I just have a couple of context setting remarks. We are here today principally because board members wanted to hear from our attorneys concerning the litigation that the board is involved with. We're also taking the opportunity to give you confidential information from one of our consultants about some IT matters that we don't need to make public at this time. But then we're going to hear from publicly our consultants, and we'll also hear from the mayor. And then we've got one non-labor contract that shouldn't take very long. I'll just tell you that it seems to me that we're getting close to a point where we can probably make some decisions about the city of West Haven. And my thought would be, and this is listed now at the end of your special agenda, that we'll have a meeting maybe in a couple of weeks, week after next. We're trying to get a special meeting together in which we'll have a discussion about the future of the city of West Haven, which could drive a lot of our workflow and scheduling for the rest of the year. Could have an impact there. So with that, does Mr. Alvarez have any opening remarks?
No remarks from me. Thank you.
All right. Then we should approve the minutes from our regular meeting of February 27, 2025. A copy of the draft minutes were sent to you in your packet. If there's any corrections or discussion of the minutes, could entertain that now. Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Luciano, so moved.
Move to second.
I'll let the staff figure out who made that, but there was definitely a motion and second. And we will, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. All right, we will go into executive session now for the aforementioned reasons. We're going to hear from our attorneys. So the attorney-client relationship is in play. So we're going to go into executive session for that. And then at some point, we will also call into the executive session the Whittlesey Consultant Group to discuss some confidential matters related to the city's systems. So I need a motion. Let's see. Also attending the executive session will be Attorney James Cayley from the Attorney General's Office, our legal counsel, Attorney Gareth By. We are including, who else is coming? Is everyone on this list going to be in the executive session? Kim? At some point, Whittlesey will be in the executive session, and I will.
The first two
it-
you mentioned are in the first one on the pension, and then
Okay.
the people after that is on the IT
Okay.
valuation.
All right. I'm going to leave it to the staff to police who's in and out of the executive session. So we're going to are we going to get a link then in the email to go to the executive session?
I just sent a link. a
Okay.
minute ago.
So relevant folks should have gotten a link to get to the executive session, and we will do that. But we need to have a motion to go into executive session.
Luciano, so moved.
Got a motion?
Seconded. Steve Felsigno.
Seconded by Mr. Falsigno. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. We'll go into executive session. We'll leave this meeting open and we will return to it after executive session. So I've got to go find my link to the executive session. We'll see you on the other side.
Steve, I think you got a separate link to go into executive session.
Dorinda, I'm here too, and I'm getting the same thing you're getting, the other gentleman's getting, that they're in executive session. I thought I was supposed to be a part of that, but if I'm not, I'm not.
I thought so too, but for the IT, but I don't have a link to the executive meeting.
So you're not in, no,
Nope.
none of us are. Okay.
Nah.
Dorinda, I think they're gonna pull us in when they're ready for that
Oh,
part.
okay.
At least
Got it.
that's what I've been told, and hopefully that's what occurs.
Okay. All right. I'll just go on
Yes.
I'll go on standby.
We're all
Thank you, guys.
standing by. We're all
Yeah.
here.
But I think Steve, you have to go into executive session. Steve Falsigno.
He should email Simon then. I think Simon's the one who's moving people in and out. Or maybe send a chat.
Steve, is that you?
Steve, you there?
Yes,
You're not in executive session?
yes, I am. Yeah, hi. I certainly was in the camp of bringing them down to tier 2 um, when I was entering the meeting. But I agree with Susan, and I think this is again, I'm certainly not a politician by any stretch of the imagination.
Stephen, this is
Yeah.
Lori. You popped back into the original meeting. Can you click over to the executive session?
Hello? Excuse me? Can you guys hear me?
We hear you, Simon.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I just sent the invitation to Mayor, Michael and V2C consultants. And also a couple, I think police officers were invited to the executive session.
Okay.
If you receive that invitation, yeah, the link, just join in, you can join in now.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah. Hey, Ed. Ed and Chris. Oh, they're on hold. Okay, great. Hey, Neil, can you hear me?
We can take the meeting sign down. I don't know who's controlling it today. Thank you.
$7:54.
Morning again.
Morning.
Let's check the roll call, make sure everybody got over.
Do we have a quorum? You're on mute, Kim.
Yep, I just saw that. Sorry. I am still looking. I don't see Tom Hamilton
Tom is here.
on the list.
Nope.
He's here?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
We have 6.
Yep.
Okay. So we are back in our regular meeting. We were in executive session for a little period there. We discussed communications privileged by the attorney-client relationship, as well as some consultant information that was confidential. We're now back in our special meeting session. We're taking up item 4 on the agenda, which is the City of West Haven Tier 4 action update. As it turns out, it is Whittlesey giving us an update on the phase 2 and 3 reports, which were emailed to the MARB members. Reports relate to governance, tax collector, tax assessor, tax filings, hiring and employment practices, grants management, and expenditure analysis. We've discussed some of these at prior meeting, but we're going to get Whittlesey to give us a update. Mr. Engberg.
Okay, well, good morning. So as Mr. Beckham has noted, Whittlesey has issued the phase 2 and 3 report that was previously presented in executive session in December of 24. That report, just giving a quick summary, really showed the significant progress that has been made in internal controls. And I think also following me, we're going to have a brief summary of the internal control reports that were done, or the IT assessment reports that were done by Whittlesey IT, that will also show significant progress that has been made in closing gaps in internal controls. So I think at this point we can switch over to Chris Wisniewski, and he can give a very high level overview on the IT reports. But just one thing to note, after this meeting, those reports will be able to be issued early next week. And at this point, we can switch over to Chris Wisniewski.
Thank you, Ed. Good morning, everybody. So just looking at a high level, we were tasked with running an IT assessment, evaluating the security risk overall of the different areas, the Board of Education, Public Safety and Animal Control, as well as the city proper for West Haven. In our first round, obviously, those reports were issued. There were areas that needed some vast improvement for different security controls, different disciplines areas. As we did our, what we call an IT validation audit this second round through, we really wanted to focus on what was remediated, what was still left around. And overall, for all 3 areas, there has been a significant, very significant improvement in the security. A lot of remediation has been performed. Each area has, put in some very strong security controls that are going to further protect the city. protect the city from any kind of exposure of information or data getting out. It's going to allow them to handle their information, their day-to-day, provide physical security. So we've seen just a huge improvement of where the key risk areas were for the city have been greatly reduced. And they continue to improve. On the second report, with any new findings, they're already addressing them. Everything is already in process, so nothing has been ignored or forgotten. But the city IT department has done just an incredible job with doing some very strong projects they had to do to get to this point in such a small amount of time. And we're very pleased to see where they are right now, and where they kind of fit in with the other cities. The Board of Education, very similar, working with their MSP. They've done a great job at reducing risk overall. We're seeing them at a very comparable level to other areas. Very, very important to note that, that's a large scale for that Board of Education, but they've been able to implement these changes again in a rather small amount of time. They've done a great job at working, with Whittlesey as well, and taking that serious. So we certainly applaud them and the MSP for really jumping on that and taking that serious. And lastly, public safety. They do have a very strong security posture. They had a fairly favorable report the first time around. It's important to note that they remained at a very strong level. They continue to implement, strong security controls, but they are maintaining what they have in place. Obviously, very sensitive, confidential, information. But we've seen some really big things go on throughout all of these three areas with some strong control, strong remediation efforts. Everybody has worked hard. Not huge IT departments for the overall city in these areas. So considering the limited staff they have, they've really gone above and beyond to make sure that they've addressed these and brought, the city into a more favorable light to where their security posture is a much more reasonable to, provide adequate protection for the city.
That's great. Questions? Anyone have questions for the IT section? Mr. Engberg?
Excuse me, I'm going to sign off. This is Neil Cavallaro, the superintendent. I just want to apologize if I was supposed to be in the executive session. I just didn't know how to get into it. My IT people are better than me, but I did get it. I've been on the time, and I apologize if I was supposed to be in during that time, but I've been on. So, but we previously talked to Chris and the people from Whittlesey and was aware of what's going on. So I'm going to sign off now and thank you. It was really a pleasure working with them in this area.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes. So at this point, I mean, we've completed the IT assessment, which is we have noted that as part of our phase 4, as part of the phase 4 engagement. We've submitted our phase 2 and 3 report. And so at this point, we have completed our engagement, and we have discussed that with MARB staff. And so we greatly appreciate everyone's time through the past 2 years that we've been working through this. We greatly, appreciate and, seeing the city of West Haven go from where they were to where they are and to where they're going. And so we appreciate everyone's time, and we look forward to continuing to watch the city of West Haven grow under, Dorinda's leadership and her team that's in place. And we thank you all for your time.
Well, we thank you very much for your effort. It's been a great experience, I think, from our perspective. You've done great work. We couldn't have done it without you. And we appreciate your hard work and time. Do members have any final questions for Whittlesey? Seeing none. All right. Thank you very much, sir. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Next item on our agenda is the financial manager and its trackers. Protiviti can give us an update. A copy of their management letter. I'm sorry, not Protiviti's management letter. The PKF O'Connor Davies management letter is in your agenda packet. Copies of Protiviti's audit tracker and status of policies and procedures has also been provided. And Protiviti and OPM staff are here to provide an overview.
Thank you, Secretary Beckham. And thank you for always providing us the opportunity to address this group. I'm glad to report that since our last meeting, we've added the recommendations into the tracker that came out of the 24 audit. And so that tracker now reflects the most current view of the findings and corresponding recommendations and helps to tell the more complete story of progress in implementing recommendations over the course of this effort. I do want to note that for my coming comments, all the figures I give are quantified based on the number of recommendations rather than number of findings. That's due to the fact that there are some situations coming out of the couple of audits here where an individual finding can have multiple recommendations. So in order to best track progress on individual items, we track at the recommendation level. So I'd like to kind of walk forward those the progress on those items for the last year and a half or so. So starting back at the FY23 audit, the city had 69 recommendations. During the FY24 audit, approximately half of that original group were closed, and a smaller group were identified as new recommendations, that being 14. It's notable that nearly all of those new recommendations were from the management letter, which represents the auditor's recommendations out of fieldwork rather than the more formal finding that gets documented in financial statements. To say that another way, there are no new MWs that came out of the 24 audit. Additionally, as part of the 24 audit, all material weaknesses were either cleared or downgraded. We've talked previously in these meetings about the fact that there was one item, the bank rec finding, which was downgraded from an MW to a significant deficiency in the 24 effort. And then subsequent to the audit field work, additional work was done on that item, and we believe that it's sufficient to close that item, which we think will then be reflected in the auditor's work in 25 as well. So if you walk forward those items, that math that I just laid out, you get to a group of approximately 51 remaining items. Of that, we think about a third are closed today and progress is being made on the remaining group. That remaining group has a roughly even split between BOE and city items. And as I said, continued progress is made on all of those on a continued basis. On the BOE side, the hiring of Kimberly into Matt's old finance role was a positive step for the city and BOE. We've begun working with her, and she's certainly eager to work with us and help. It certainly will take a little time to say catch up on the fact that Matt had a terrific amount of historical knowledge, but progress continues to be made there. So concluding all this, I'd just like to say that this is, I think, very good progress, but continued progress for both the city and BOE over the next few months is important in order to get ahead of the FY25 audit procedures so that we can continue showing improved audit results in the next audit.
Questions for Protiviti? Okay. So just to let you know my current thinking on this, I think it may be useful. There are some items that I'd like to get some additional deliverables out of this consultant. So my inclination is to continue their engagement with us for a couple more months, not an extended period of time, to make sure that we've left the city with as much guidance and assistance as we can. So that's where I am with that at this moment. I see the mayor has her hand up.
Yes, I do, Mr. Secretary. I'm a little disappointed to hear that. First of all, Zach, thank you for all the work that you do. extending the consultant comes at an additional cost to our taxpayers. So I'm just disappointed that our taxpayers are going to have to pay for an additional few months of consultant work after everything we have demonstrated and demonstrated the opportunity to continue on the course we are. I want to make sure that's on the record. Thank you.
Certainly. My read of the materials that have been submitted is that there are several draft policies around things like grant management and debt service, et cetera, that I think are still outstanding. And it would be nice if we could get those deliverables before we conclude our business with Protiviti so that the city will have the benefit of that guidance. That's my thinking on that. Obviously, I can discuss that with the board offline. That's a decision we do have to make since I believe their contract is up this month, but that's my current inclination.
Mr. Secretary, I
Yes,
think,
ma'am.
oh, I'm sorry. We certainly have more policies to draft, but I think we've demonstrated that we have the ability to draft policies with our leadership team. So I think we should have the opportunity to be able to perform our own governance and draft our own policies and not have to pay for a consultant to do that. I think that would be more cost-effective approach.
I take your point, but I have a different view. So if there are no more questions of Protiviti at this point, we'll move on to our next item, which is the mayor's executive summary, and you can provide us with an update on the operations of the city.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Secretary. Since our last meeting 2 weeks ago, we had yet another credit rating upgrade, this time from Moody's. That's our third credit rating upgrade within a year. We announced a great partnership with the University of New Haven yesterday that will be more financially equitable to the city of West Haven. And we also negotiated a new sale of a piece of property that we've been looking to sell. But I'm going to, I think this board has heard a lot from me over the past year, and I'm just really looking forward today to hearing from the board on our discussion and the status of West Haven and the plan for moving forward. And just want to remind everyone, you only see me in these meetings, obviously, because I'm the face of the city, but we have 56,000 residents that come to me for clarity and information. And I often find myself not being able to provide them with that. So I'm hoping I could get a little bit more information, direction, and plan from the MARB board today. Thank you.
Okay, I'll take that up. And members can chime in, but my understanding of where we are and where we would like to be, at the end of our agenda today, we have a notation about a special meeting in early April and our regularly scheduled meeting at the end of April. I think what we're going to do, unless anyone on the board has an objection, is we will go ahead and have that regular meeting on April 24th. We will not have that earlier meeting on April 2nd. We recently got a briefing from council with regard to where things are with some litigation. There's some dates that they are hitting in early April that involve some work on their part and some additional deliberations that are going to happen as part of that litigation. And so we will then have on the April 24th date the benefit of that experience. We'll know what has transpired with regard to that, and that's going to inform the board's discussion on April 24th. And at that point, I would expect we'd have a discussion about the city of West Haven and its status under the MARB going forward. So with that, we can move on to the next item on our agenda, which is review, discussion, and possible action on a non-labor contract, the Ideal Group LLC. City went out to bid seeking proposals from qualified developers to purchase and redevelop the former Stiles School. 3 proposals were received. The review process included evaluation of the proposals, a site tour, and interviews with bidders. The city selected Ideal Group LLC from Stamford, Connecticut at a sales price for the Style School of $423,000. And I think the proposal involves converting that school into 30 apartments. And the city can provide an overview if members have questions.
I'm going to turn it over to Paul Dorsey, our corporation counsel. He negotiated the lease, which I believe is a pretty good deal for the city of West Haven.
Yeah, it's actually a purchase and sale. We'd be transferring title to the Ideal Group. And their proposal is to construct 30 apartment units within the existing building. What's very attractive about this project is that it maintains what is certainly arguably a historical building built in 1930. The plans are aesthetically pleasing. The terms are such that if the Ideal Group wants to expand in the future with another building, because the property can support that, we have already negotiated a price per unit with an escalation of 3% per year after 2025. And it's a 50-year option. So we feel confident that if the expansion goes beyond the 30 units, that we will be adequately compensated during that 50-year period. If there's any specific questions about the purchase and sale agreement, I can certainly answer them. But it was a competitive bid. We picked it, the Ideal Group, based not only on the purchase price, which is competitive with the other bids, but also because their project fits the city's vision, certainly the mayor's vision for that property, and the attractiveness of maintaining the existing building.
Questions concerning this transaction? I gather we have to approve this, Kim, so I'll need to entertain a motion to approve the sale. Oh, Mr. Hamilton's got his hand up.
Yeah, I have just one question just to sort of ask for the record, and that is, has the city or the Board of Education made a determination that the site won't be needed in the future for any school purposes?
The building cannot be used for any purposes without remediation for $1 million. It's just not usable.
Okay, great. Thank you. I will move approval if we're at that point, Mr. Secretary.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the sale for the sale of the Style School to the Ideal Group LLC. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Mayor Borer has her hand up.
Yes, I actually wanted to go back to the protivity issue. If you're done voting, I didn't want to interrupt.
Sure.
Are you done voting?
Yes, ma'am.
So, we just got a high level. We have the tracker here, but those policies and procedures that you're all indicating that we have to do, and we know we have to do them because, not just because you told us, we know we have to do them. Are those tied to high-risk material weaknesses or significant deficiencies within our fiscal year 24 audit?
I can speak for myself, but my view is that they're not, but that they are items that, Protiviti can provide you with guidance on. Before we leave you, before you leave Tier 4 status, the board has a strong interest in doing its due diligence, providing the kind of support and guidance necessary. It would be my view that you don't have to even adopt those policies. I would simply like to extract those deliverables from them so that we can give them to you. as an assistance to the city going forward. And I think that the board, if anyone on the board has a different view, they can certainly say so. But my view is we should give them a couple more months to complete that work, really leave you with that guidance going forward, and leave it at that. There's no requirement in my mind that you have to adopt them or do anything with them.
So I would just add then, I always, every time we have this conversation, I go back to the state statute, right? That says no unsound financial practice. And I'm just, struggling with us continuing to have a consultant here at a cost to our taxpayers for items that don't tie back to our material weaknesses or the state statute. We're going to put these policies together because we know we have to, right? We have a leadership team that has demonstrated we understand the importance of good government and these policies, and we'll work on them. I'm having a disconnect with that tied to our criteria with our release and paying a consultant. We're just, we're looking for every penny here. I think I don't know that we have to pay someone to write the policies for us.
Kim, the fees for Protiviti are coming out of the restructuring funds, are they not?
They are coming out of the restructuring funds, but the board had voted to request that West Haven reimburses the restructuring funds is what's going on, Mr. Secretary.
Well, just to clarify, I'm not holding these items up as criteria for release from Tier 4. I think on April 24, we can have that discussion. We can have that vote. Protiviti could still be working. You could still be in the MARB's orbit. Not going to prejudge the April 24 vote, but you could be in a different status, and Protiviti could be giving you the benefit of their wisdom for a couple more months, is my concept.
I appreciate that. And I think Zach and his team has done an amazing job. I will miss them when they're not here. They've been providing great guidance. And I'm glad to hear that doesn't tie to our release. And I value the work that they do. I just don't want to pay for it. I just don't want to pay for it because we can't afford it. So if the state wants to pick up the tab and wants to keep them here a couple more months, I certainly welcome that because that is an extra set of hands helping us out. That's up to you.
It's always amusing to me when I'm in a conversation when someone else says they don't want to pay for something, because that's usually my line. It's refreshing, though, I must say. Kevin.
Well, I think maybe to that point, my primary question was, I don't know when the vote was taken to request that the city pay back the restructuring funds. Is that something that we could reconsider at a point in time in which we're prepared to take a vote on their status within MARB? That's my primary question. And just to the mayor, since we're not voting on this until the next meeting, I imagine, I think the mayor's comments always weigh heavily, at least for me, and I think for this board. But I also very much understand the secretary's point. And so the question about could we not request those restructuring funds is my question.
They're bound to a contract.
Hang on,
Sorry,
Kim.
excuse me.
I'm happy to have Kim research that, brief me, and we can brief the board at the April 24 meeting on the history of what the city has paid for and not paid for. And if the board wants to make a motion to change that arrangement, I'm happy to have that discussion. Bob.
I think that's a worthwhile discussion. I take the mayor's point. In terms of the April 24th vote, two things. One is I want to inform the mayor that I've changed my position on the fire provision of fire service. I don't think it needs to be an exit criteria. However, I do hope that the city is invited as part of our oversight responsibilities to explain what they would do in that situation. But I don't think it's an exit criteria. And I think it's something that you probably want to do. And I think it's something we need to do as well. The other thing is my recollection from prior conversations is if we have a vote on the 24th, and it is favorable, it would be subject to certain things, like I think we've already talked about, like approval of the 5-year plan and the budget, which I don't expect any issues, but that probably wouldn't be until May or June. And, I don't know about, I think we talked about clearing up audit findings with Protiviti saying it's okay, we're not waiting for the next time. So I think there may be a month or two after the 24th, assuming that's the way the vote went. There's a couple of other issues that we had discussed, but I don't think it's going to be the party is on the 24th. They'll have to make arrangements for when that is. So. And it's got to be in the budget, and we have to be invited. So I'm just saying.
It's a little premature, but maybe I can just muse out loud, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong. Just hypothetically, if on the 24th it was the will of the board that the MARB should exit Tier 4, it would be my discretion as to whether they exit completely or whether they move to a different tier. If you were at, say, hypothetically, Tier 2, we would not have budget approval, but we would have to, I think, approve some assumptions in the budget around revenue, possibly the mill rate, but I don't think I wouldn't anticipate that being a particularly heavy or contentious discussion in the May timeframe. So we wouldn't have budget approval, and we wouldn't, importantly, have contracts approval. But that's all theoretical. So I don't know if that's helpful. Mayor, do you have your hand up? You're on mute.
All I said was, I think I'll wait for the 24th, hopefully, April 10th with the, police mediation is successful. And, the 24th, by the 24th, you have more information. Hopefully we have more policies drafted for you. The budget is, I think that's an open question. And all I would say is, I just want to ask that we keep going back to the state statute. The law is the law, how you come in and how you come out. I know there's wiggle room, but just want to make sure we keep going back to legally, what the process is and what we need to do, and not extend beyond the statute what is required of us. And I also want you to know, because I say this all the time, I appreciate all the work that you have done. And I hope you have trust in us that we are going to continue on a good course the day you say goodbye. And Bob, you said don't party on the 24th. We party all day long here at 355 Main Street. The party never ends from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. But thank you for all the work that you have all done.
Appreciate that. Sal?
Yeah, I just didn't, the mayor asked what we kind of thought, and I didn't want time to go by without responding. I think universally it's recognized what you've done with your leadership to bring the city on the right path. So I just felt you needed to know that not only do I think so, but I think I've heard consensus on the board.
I agree. I heartily second that. Nothing that I've said or planned to say would diminish in any way what you've done. It's been a tremendous effort. We've made great progress, probably faster than we would have had you not been there. And I want to say that. That's true. All right. Do we have any more business? It doesn't look like we have other business today.
Secretary?
Yes. Who's there?
Kim, do you want to postpone or cancel the West Haven subcommittee meeting?
Yes, I was getting to that.
I'm sorry. Okay.
That's okay. So we will not, even though it's listed, at least in my notes, that we were thinking about an early April meeting, we will not do that. We're going to have a late April meeting. Our regularly scheduled MARB meeting is April 24, hopefully at the Legislative Office Building in person. I do prefer in person. The regularly scheduled West Haven subcommittee meeting for March 27 is being postponed to April 24th. So I guess you'll meet before the regular meeting, it sounds like.
Well, that changed when we changed the early April meeting, so we are going to cancel, but we'll definitely need to discuss scheduling a
Okay.
different subcommittee, probably not on that day.
Okay,
Excuse me.
TBD. You'll hear from the staff on the subcommittee meeting, but plan on the April 24 regular MARB meeting. Sounds like it will be an important one in terms of where we are with the city of West Haven. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Luciano, so moved.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Alvarez. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll see you soon, everyone. Take care.
Bye.